Hello. So here we're at video number 5, dedicated to astrology, and we're going to continue our exploration of the armillary sphere, this tool, basic tool to understand the movements of the sky, and the astrology known as tropical astrology. So today we're going to discover, after having looked at the celestial equator, tropics of Capricorn and Cancer, we're going to discover the zodiac a little more, and these big circles of the sphere that are the celestial meridians and that are absolutely essential in tropical astrology. So first of all, let's focus on the zodiac. So astrologers and astronomers of the antiquity, when they observed the sky, they saw that there were stars that they called moving stars, wandering stars. In fact, that is the etymology of the word planet. It means a moving star, a wandering star. And so they observed that, and they also observed the fact that these wandering stars, these planets, just like the sun in fact, moved within a narrow band of the celestial sphere, a band of roughly 17 degrees, and that they called the zodiac. So I'd like to specify that on this sphere the zodiac should be slightly broader, a quarter in fact wider, and the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn should be much closer to the celestial equator. And you see, the whole point of this sphere is that the zodiac being smaller and the meridians further apart from the equator, it enables us to have a clearer vision. So it's not a scientific object, but it is a good educational tool because you can distinguish the various aspects really well. That's something I wanted to specify. So this movement of all the stars on this narrow band of the celestial sphere is pretty mysterious. Why do all the stars travel on this 17 degree band? It's a mystery of the creation of our solar system, and a mystery that physicists explain through creation, when gas and dust were moving around a proto-sun, and then little by little this system stabilized thanks to various physical forces. So the system stabilized, and gas and dust would gather together in this narrow band. So when the solar system was created, it was materialized, by gas and dust that then agglomerated and formed planets. But today, of course, the zodiac is totally immaterial. It is just a journey that the planets travel along, but totally immaterial. So that is something that's important. So what I need to specify also, it's a very important detail, although it's not visible here, is that in the middle of the zodiac is a band known as the ecliptic, which is the apparent path of the sun. So imagine a little line here that crosses the zodiac in the middle, and that's the apparent path of the sun, known as the ecliptic. So also a very important circle in the celestial sphere. So what is compelling when you look at the armillary sphere is the strange inclination of the zodiac. You see, it's a rather strange dance, around the Earth. So this zodiac is inclined. If you think of, the celestial equator here, there is an angle between the two of 23.26 degrees, the same angle again. And so this angle, this inclination of the zodiac compared to the celestial equator, is responsible for seasons. So I'll explain this in a few words. When the sun enters in summer, the beginning of summer, I'm going to place my sun here. The sun enters the sign of Cancer, so that's the beginning of summer. And you can see, compared to our little figurine here, if you look at the vertical, so the rays of the sun are very hot. There's no loss of energy at all. Whereas if you place yourself at the beginning of winter, in the sign of Capricorn, so Sun in Capricorn, you can see that compared to our little figurine here, our little character, that the rays are going to be oblique. you know, so the rays of the sun will hit him in a very oblique manner, and so the energy will be scattered. The more oblique the rays, the more the energy is scattered, so the heat that reaches the earth is far less. So this inclination of the zodiac is going to determine the seasons. It's sometimes been believed that it's the proximity of the sun and the earth that is the cause of seasons, but of course nothing is further from the truth. In actual fact, it's interesting to know that the sun and the earth are at their closest in the middle of winter. In 2016, it was the 2nd of January. So, you know, totally unrelated, the proximity of the earth and the sun, but everything to do with the inclination of the zodiac. That's what determines seasons. So based on this zodiac, we're going to look at 4 key points on the armillary sphere. Points that everybody has heard of, i.e. the summer and winter solstices and spring and autumn equinoxes. So, summer solstice to start with. It's when the sun enters the sign of Cancer, and more precisely the summer solstice is the intersection between the Tropic of Cancer and the ecliptic. So this is how we define the summer solstice. Obviously here this is an educational tool and it's not accurate because the zodiac should be the middle of the zodiac that should be on the Tropic of Cancer, but as I was saying, it's interesting, you know, but not accurate. So intersection of the Tropic of Cancer and of the zodiac, to simplify matters, gives us our summer solstice. Winter solstice, here if we go to the southern hemisphere, our sun is at the beginning of the sign of Capricorn, and so the intersection of the ecliptic or the zodiac, to keep things simple, and the Tropic of Capricorn give us our winter solstice. That's the second point, and a very important point, very well known and very important in tropical astrology, is the spring equinox, where the sun arrives in Aries, and here you can see it's the intersection of the ecliptic, the zodiac, and the equator, the celestial equator. So it's a transition when the sun goes from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. And this is where you have the spring equinox. And on the other side, you have the opposite, i.e. the autumn equinox, when the sun goes into Libra and goes from the northern to the southern hemisphere. So the intersection between the ecliptic and the celestial equator. So now we have defined 4 essential points, the 2 solstices and the equinoxes. This is going to enable us to define these major circles here, the celestial meridians. And so here we have, you know, the autumn equinox, and on the other side the spring equinox. And so this big circle here that crosses the 2 equinoxes and the poles of the sphere is simply the equinox circle. Before in antiquity and up until the Middle Ages, it was known as collier, the collier, you know, equinox collier. It's a major circle that goes through these points and by the poles of the sphere. And then the other big circle that crosses the points, the solstices, and the poles of the sphere is the solstice circle, or solstice collier. So we've defined all the circles of the sphere, and this is going to enable us to see that there are 4 quadrants on this sphere, the 4 quadrants of the seasons. The first quadrant is the spring one, defined here by all these circles in the sphere. Second quadrant here, the summer quadrant. Here, the autumn quadrant. And finally, the winter quadrant. So all this armillary sphere is known to you now. The various circles, the quadrants. We can really start talking about astrology in the next video. I'd just like to say something, a very important thing, is that here, the beginning of, the spring equinox defines the beginning of the sign of Aries, and it's known as point zero on this circle that is at 360 degrees. The spring equinox, beginning of Aries, is the beginning, it's point zero. Libra, the beginning of Libra on the opposite side, 180 degrees. So that's how, by using the zodiac, you start with Aries and degree zero. So now that you know everything, it will help us understand tropical astrology. So let's meet in our next video, where we're going to look at tropical astrology and the signs of the zodiac. So thank you very much, and see you very shortly. Bye-bye.